apiplatform.io, a no-code platform for backend services by creating and connecting with APIs.
Very good, Muthu. I just wanted to introduce everyone to our lovely speaker here today, named Muthu Raju. He's the founder and CEO of Links API Platform, IO. Wonderful introduction, sir, to the video. Would you like to take it away for your rest of your presentation?
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jason. Just give me 1 second.
Yes, take it. Go ahead.
All right. I hope everyone can see this okay. So Jason, I think this format is pretty new to me. So I'm just wondering, would the audience be participating in the conversation as well, or this is a one-way broadcast of me talking?
You talking, and they have the chat on the side, so they'll be they'll be answering questions on the side on the chat, in the session chat.
Okay.
And I'll post that for you as well.
Okay, perfect. All right. So thank you everyone for joining this session. I know you guys are probably from different walks of life, coming from different direction or different location in this virtual conference. I just want to make sure the next 20 minutes is really thought-provoking and useful to all of you. And let me introduce my topic. So the future of development is going to be with developer mindset. I don't believe we will need any skill set in the future. I'm being a little assertive on that, and let me just back that up in the speech and kind of convey the right message to all of you. And please sit back, relax, and really think about what some of you might be developers, some of you coming from different background. So just sit back, relax, and think about a couple of options on what we are saying here and how does that make sense to you. So let me begin with something really important that I learned in my life and inspired by one of the largest hedge fund that I worked for many years. So they really hone in on this concept called values, abilities, and skills in all of their recruiting the right candidates. So let me define what those things are. So, abilities are something like, how you think, how you operate, what you think, your thinking skills, your ability to orchestrate, your ability to learn, unlearn, some may be very creative thinkers, some may be like detail oriented thinkers, right? So abilities define most of the characteristics of what people do. Values is probably the most important thing. Values are something that's deeply rooted in ourselves, and that's what we fight for, or we live for, or we fight against as well. So that's probably the most important thing. And skills, if you have an ability to learn fast, skills is relatively less important, but still the world recruits most of the people based on their skills, not the abilities. Skills, if you really look at it, you can do a certification of something in a week for something, so example, and even we call somebody as a master of something, we still have the master's degree which runs only for 2 years, right? So that's how you acquire skills. So what we deeply believe in the world of development is skills is not a characteristics that we need to go for. Abilities are the only characteristics we need to go for, and that's the fundamental theme of my speech today. And I just want to challenge what's happening in the marketplace a little bit, and kind of bring that point back to you to think about yourself, whether what should you be focusing on from your abilities point of view, not the skills. So let me begin with some interesting thing. Always success leaves clues, right? There are a lot of people I believe are very, very successful in the marketplace. So let me probably post a question here just to create some interaction. If you guys can just list out or tell me the top 5 successful companies that you believe in the marketplace. I'll just watch the chat. If you guys can give me some clues on what do you think are the most successful companies. I'm back on the chat just to see if anyone. Okay. Awesome. I see Amazon, I see Netflix, SAP, Spotify, Fang, Stripe, Uber, Airbnb. Great. Those are all great companies, right? But you may be measuring those companies by some dimension, right? The one dimension could be, Amazon probably categorizes in many of those things. They are like in certain areas of like number of employees or the revenues or like the net return of the company or like what's their market cap today, because some of the companies redefined this valuation in the last 10-15 years, right? Previously we used to value things differently. Now it's valued totally different. So we are basically inspired by two of those companies, which I'm just going to bring back to the slide again. So let me continue my conversation here. So we are fundamentally inspired by two of those. So, one is Tesla, obviously Elon Musk. Now with his Twitter buying, there's some interesting news about him always on the channel. So that company is very successful for many reasons, right? One of the key things that we are inspired by and we are really looking at is the first principle thinking. First principle thinking, can be explained in many ways. Some of you know that probably very deeply and intensively from a engineering perspective, and there's a philosophy aspect to it as well. But by and large, it's basically questioning deeply, right? Questioning deeply if something doesn't exist or we are starting something from scratch, how would you approach it? Versus like following a process of like, hey, this is what I got to do. Everyone advocates continuous improvement. That's something that everybody does. But the fundamental question is more important than the continuous improvement, because continuous improvement sometimes can take you in a wrong direction if you're improving a wrong thing, right? I always try to explain this in a story, which I really like all the time. This is like, there was a Zen guru. He was always teaching to a lot of his students, like, 10 or 15 disciples, like, learning every day. And suddenly he saw a cat just walking here and there, which was disturbing the students, not the teacher. And the teacher said, like, hey, look, from tomorrow, I'm going to put a new process in place, which is before we start the class, make sure somebody catch the cat and tie it in a tree so that we can start the class. I should be able to see the tree and the cat, and then we can start, because he said that to, set a process to make sure the students are listening to him carefully. The days went by, years went by, the students keep changing, but the process continues. And one fine day, the teacher passed away as well. And then the new teacher coming in, and all these things are going on for a while, right? And then suddenly one fine day, the cat passes away. And the new teacher, new students, they just don't know what to do. They just look at each other and say, the teacher says, hey, look, what are we doing here? Don't you guys know? As part of the thing, before we start the class, we have to have a cat tied to the tree. Otherwise, we can't start the class. And asking them to go and order a cat in an efficient way to bring it to the thing, right? That's more of a continuous improvement on a wrong set of things. And that's why we love Tesla in terms of their first principle thinking. And I think I'm sharing that thought because that's an important thing for all of us to think from a developer perspective, right? That's the key thing that, I'm just going to challenge a few things in the next few slides. The other one is a very popular one, which is eliminating waste, which some of you might know the process of what he follows. As you could see, some of you may be aware of this process. Tesla does this really well. We just challenge the status quo of making sure the requirements are there, and then delete a lot of those things, then creating more of those things, right? So that's the most of the engineering skill that need to come out. Like why do we do a lot of things? Is it like, are we still trying to catch the cat, or are we doing something meaningful, right? That's the thought process that we are inspired by, and we're trying to challenge that in the marketplace. So the second company that we are very inspired by is Amazon, not because of its numbers, not because of how the retail industry changed, but the foundational thinking of API, which I think most of you know is famous email that I will show in a second. And then the second one is the design for digital, the deft configuration, because I think the deft configuration, I learned that word as a new word, deft configuration. What does that really mean? It's the nifty way of able to like really take advantage of everything. Is Amazon did not face failure? They did. They have a lot of failures, but the success stories are much higher than the failure stories. The reason being, they were able to really take advantage of everything that comes in the marketplace today. So they are like, they were able to take advantage of, tomorrow, if technology that none of us have thought about, if it comes in play, they should be able to take advantage of it because of the foundational structure of how they have architected and constructing their digital strategy with a deft configuration. And this is that famous email. Most of the people who attend the API world would know this. This is the email, I think 2002 or 3, which kind of put everything API. And today, everybody's still talking about, hey, we want to go API. We want to be an API economy. We want to be an API mandate company, right? But he did that like way, way back. That foundational now helps to kind of orchestrate all the things that Amazon is doing. So those are two key inspirations we took, and we really think that puts a lot of foundational for what we build as a platform as well. And these are the status quos that we want to challenge in the developer network today. So I'm going to just go through one and then take a pause and probably field any questions, and then we'll go. I can change the direction to address some of the questions as well. So the status quo that we really want to challenge first is on the developer side. I was a developer myself. I used to do assembly language programming way back for PLCs, building things. So we have this quest to solve the problem, right? That's what we've been trained to, right? This is the ability that we have. We may learn different skills. I might be doing an assembly language program, then now I'm doing Java, Python, whatever, right? So the languages, the skills changing, but my ability to solve problem, that's an ability. That's a very important ability, hasn't solved. And in that quest, we all try to solve customers' problem and try to make it really, really simple for them. But are we really making our own process simpler? Are we really solving a problem in some cases? Are we creating a problem, right? The question behind the question is, there's so many languages out there in the market. If you go look at GitHub, and the number of code that's been generated is crazy. There's like so many things out there. Let's say if you want to fetch a particular data of, state or whatever, how many code bases are available today in the marketplace for various things out there? Why is that? Are we solving a problem? Or are we creating a huge waste of contents everywhere and trying to make that problem as a problem? So that's the key question that I'm just, really posting to all of you. And I'm just going to show a quick picture of, current process. This is one of the good practice that people talk about. And the question that I want to post is, even in this type of end-to-end process, can someone guess how much is the real wastage here? Let me go back to the chat. Okay, I don't see much coming out. So the real wastage there is close to 60%, right? If you have an idea, just think about this, if you have an idea of a product, can we go from our idea to product? Why it's not possible? Why do we really need to still build in the new world of, when we have everything? Why we still have to have the approach of catching the cat again, right? Why can't we do it differently with a new set of things? So that's my first question for some of you to wonder and ponder. The obvious answer from some of you might be, hey, there's coding complexity, right? There's so much going on in the world today. There's multiple coding languages, right? Everybody has to, because either we are optimizing the code for infrastructure, as an example, in some cases, or we are optimizing that code for a particular environment or business or vertical. We have a lot of optimizations. And then within the same language, as an example, let's say take Java, right? We have a 27 times better developer of Java versus, that the only industry in the marketplace today where somebody is at level 1 and level 27. So that's the variation in terms of their pay scale as well as their ability as well. So we have the combination of this creates so many other problems, right? There's a lot of bugs out there, a lot of increased cost. And then there are a lot of good ideas but don't get executed because of the way it need to be coded, as an example. So I think this variance in efficiency really creates a different paradigm shift in terms of what we need to do. So I think that's one thought for you to think about is hey, can we solve some of these things without a code in the future? Maybe some kind of thing. If you're writing a logic to build a list, It's the same logic. Doesn't matter you're writing in Python or you're writing it in Perl as an example. You're optimizing it, but do we need to optimize today considering how the infrastructure and scaling works in the world today? That's the first question. And then the second question for you guys to wonder is, why do we still have the data that need to travel extensively from, everybody's now advocating, oh, if you have a source data, take your source data, transform it and put it on cloud so that you can optimize for the read access and do a lot of those things. Do we still need to do it? Is that still catching the cat? How do we think about that, right? Because way back, the write optimization was done on the source, and then the read optimization is happening on this side with the OLA or or OLT, to access the reports, those kind of things. With the kind of infrastructure that we have, with the kind of the API economy that we have, do we really need to do that? Why should the data move from a source? Can it be done in the source itself in some shape or form with APIs and exposing that as a data product versus transforming all the data to different places, right? I mean, why do we still do that? Because the ultimate aim for a data is if you say a data product, there should be data. It should have an infrastructure it's running on, and it should have an API that's a data product. And all it need to do is it should be readily accessible and consumable. So why still people do this transformation versus not converting everything as a data product? And then if that data product is there, people should be able to consume from everywhere. So that's a second challenge that I want you guys to think about. And then this is the most interesting thing as well. If you look at really integration today, I believe the net new idea is very, very less in the marketplace, right? Somebody already thought about it, or somebody already created, or something already exists in terms of the global, arena of what we have today. So why can't we leverage what's available, integrate and innovate, versus everybody goes to the thing of hey, no, I got to develop this myself. I got to just really do it, in my own cocoon. So why is that? What's driving that factor? What thought process is behind that? Is it our own fear of not able to get out there, or what's driving there? That's another thought for you guys to kind of ponder. Let me leave with one last thought, and then we can probably field some questions there. So one, even though people in this type of conference talk a lot about microservices at the technology level, right? And then hey, we all know what the advantage of microservices. Most of the people are trying to get from their big monolith system to a microservice. Are we really though? Because when we do that, some of the people still go and stick to a bigger CRM system, bigger ERP systems, because that's comfortable, right? That's what we want to do. But if you just take a step up, are we at the application level or the business level, are we still going towards a monolith? Tomorrow, if that changes, how are we going to deal with it? So why can't we really even break down everything as an accessible service and try to really use even the applications as a microservice? Just an example, if you're doing a CRM, maybe the customer management, maybe the procurement side of it, maybe the payment side of it, whatever those simple things. Why can't that be a simple service today in the economy of API economy, versus still people stick to I don't want to name any of the big players there, but there are a lot of big players that people will be okay, I'm comfortable with that player because of da, right? What's that resistance? Why the developers are not innovative? Why we are still sticking to the same same process and doing a continuous improvement on the process versus stepping back and really thinking out loud? So with that kind of thought, what I'm really saying is I'm saying it with a lot of humbleness, but also very assertive. The future world is for people who have a developer mindset, not the skill set. If somebody is recruiting someone with Java skills, I'm not sure that's going to exist for a very, very long time, because that paradigm is going to change. But as a developer, whomever you are, what you have acquired is not a skill set. You have acquired a mindset. You know how to solve a problem. That is very hard to replace from a human thinking perspective, because you're taking a problem, breaking it down, how to assemble things, how to create it, how to construct. You are also basically all of you are creators. So the way I am looking at that is if you maybe a good analogy could be on the food side. If you're a chef you know how to create with everything exists. That's a mindset. If you're a cook, you're following a recipe, I think your days are like, not very long. That's maybe a very assertive way of saying it, but that's my message. And I really want get some feedback and really get your thinking on this. And I hope this time is useful for you guys to kind of take this and ponder and wonder what's happening in the world. Let me pause here. Any questions, any thoughts? Okay, perfect. So that's all I want to share today. And we have our booth. We have a couple of presentations and demos coming up. I'd like all of you to take advantage of that and come and see us. How you could achieve some of the things that we mentioned in a good way. Great. I got two questions there. I mean, I don't know, Jason, if I have time to answer it. So I think Marco and Chobi. So the way we build all those things is the customer or whomever is building, the creator owns all the assets of the creation. So the IP belongs to the user or the company, or whatever the case is. Cool. All right. Thank you all. Thanks for your time. Please come and see us on our booth.